to your back now, though.
I'll go ahead and pass out a copy of the agenda to anybody who wants one.
Sitting super close was Jeff's idea.
Yeah.
Don't let him be in charge of the chairs anymore.
Like, oh, yeah, we could-
People's legs are touching.
Would you like a hard copy?
That's it.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's all up there.
Yep.
It's a hard copy of theirs.
So there are 5 things on there? Very hard to memorize.
Okay, what's number 3?
I don't remember. You knew that was coming.
I lost my wallet.
There is no number 3.
There's a fridge back there?
Second, yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I brought an example of the place on it. Did I what? I think so. I didn't hear from Michael Manis to know if he's attending, so I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order and we'll go ahead and get started, especially since we have guests this evening who are going to be sharing some things to all of us this evening. So we'll just dive right in so you ladies can be on your way if you would like. So we are going to talk about our project, hi Sue, at Milroy Park. We have a really awesome opportunity in front of us. A wonderful gift has been offered, and we're going to share some information about that tonight. So I don't know if Bree wants to go first or Sarah. You guys can decide. Okay.
We did rock, paper, scissors outside.
Okay.
So I don't exactly remember how this started 100%, but Jasper Newton Foundation ended up with Stephanie Meyer.
I have a bad clock.
Mine says 5.
Save the seats.
That was fast. We're speeding quick today.
We started with we just started. Good to see you.
I'm just sharing a bit about Milroy Park. So, the Jasper Newton Foundation has this is a long story, so I'll try to tuck it in here. We have a donor fund, a donor giving circle-ish with Chief Buildings and have had since 2012. Those employees give out of their paychecks every week, and they do a campaign every year, and that money gets, the check boxes and that money gets directed back to any number of organizations they might choose. Since 2012, when they opened the fund, their employees have given back in the local community over $130,000, which is very exciting to share because that's the power of that. So if anyone, like the mayor, might want to start an employee giving circle, or if anyone wants to, it's a really great, powerful way to let your employees see the power of giving back, because everyone gets like $1 and it accumulates over the year, and then we execute getting those funds out in February. We have some undesignated funds left over from Chief that I had forgotten about, which is weird to say, but we were supposed to move them. And we couldn't have used them for our local match, so I was thinking of something to do with them. Well, at the same time, I had coffee with Melissa Miller, who is the HR person at the Chief Buildings, also happens to be Terry Miller's wife. Terry passed away unexpectedly in December and has been a huge community guy with soccer and their son, and also just a huge proponent of all of the park stuff. So if you've ever noticed the metal scarecrow walk signs that are in Milroy Park every year, he made those at Chief. Chief always had a very competitive metal submission that was like way harder, not smarter, like thing that they did every year for those displays. And also the Christmas tree trail, like every year he was challenging himself to do something bigger and better. And the last thing that they talked about was trying to figure out how to get one of those domes and do some kind of moving light Christmas tree thing, which sounded really cool, but he didn't get to do that, obviously. So if somebody else wants to take that on at Christmas, more power to you. But Terry is great, so we have some extra money. I called Heather and said, hey, Terry was really fond of that park and participating in all those things Rensselaer I would say Terry and Melissa are also really instrumental in getting the $40,000 that Chief Foundation donated to Parks for People, which went to Foundation Park. Anyway, I called and said, is there something we can do in memory of Terry that would be appropriate? So Heather went to thinking and she said, actually part of our park plan is to put some kind of trailhead connector point at Milroy Park for all the walking things. You know, if you notice that the northwest corner of Milroy, there's a sidewalk entrance but no sidewalk to the street, and just thinking about how to connect all those pieces together. So I said, well, I have some money, and Melissa has some donations too. Like, what if we use that money to buy that gazebo to make that connecting point and put one of the legacy plaques on it for Terry. Terry wrote a lot of words about how he felt about his community and some other things that Melissa has too, and pictures of him doing soccer and sorts of things. So anyway, it felt like a really good match. Melissa was excited, and I think this is a great way to accomplish a park goal that also commemorate a huge supporter of the parks and a great community member. So we were tasked with then contacting Sarah to do some engineering. It's not really important. Some site work. So we would make sure that the said gazebo then was also meeting the needs of the larger park plan. So is it matching up so that anyone can access it from whatever walking points there are? So I don't know what you did. It's maybe smarter than me, but go ahead. But anyway, that's where all this started. So I'm good.
Okay, good. All right, I'm gonna get up and play Vanna here because Josh has this on the TV. Does that work, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys want a hard copy of what Sarah? I'm gonna pass it
Okay.
to Sarah while you're talking.
Okay, so, like we mentioned, so where we started was we had a survey done, a partial survey of the park. And we had, turning point surveying went out and they identified the topo on the site. So we knew the grade elevations that were on the walking path. So this is the asphalt walking path. And then up there in the corner, I can't reach, is that curb cut that got put in, that re-reference, that kind of goes to nowhere right now. And so what Heather and I talked about is we wanted to find a way to put the gazebo in and then also allow for future connectivity there so that we would come, Heather's idea was to come off that curb cut, come over to where the gazebo point would be, and then connect to the asphalt walking path in the park. Hey Josh, can you go to the next page? So what we did is we're showing the potential location of the gazebo pad. So the gazebo was purchased by, Heather, you got it from Yoder's?
Mhm.
Yeah, from Yoder's. And so all we would be doing is, what I'm showing is putting down the concrete pad and then also putting down a approach that would be a way for the sidewalk here and the sidewalk coming off the northwest corner to come together and then connect to the existing asphalt pathway. And what I'm proposing is that this area here is actually, so this elevate is about, in round numbers, 6 inches higher than that. There's a nail, this little circle here designates a nail that is in the asphalt pathway that we have an elevation point of. And so going 6 inches up from that, you have 24, for this pad here, you have 24 feet here, so you have plenty of space to get your ADA slope. Actually, your way is almost gonna feel flat, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody's really gonna notice it. But that would meet your ADA, and then to get you up to the pad here, that way nobody feels like they're down in a hole, so to speak, and the building is a little bit higher. It will require a little bit of fill on either side of the sidewalk because you can't have a 6-inch drop off, right, on the side of the sidewalk. So there will be a little bit of fill that would be feathered out, but it would be minimal in that way. Yeah, go to the next one. So Heather mentioned that this sidewalk going to the northwest would be future. So I'm dashing it in because I don't know when the plan would be to do that. But some items I wanted to talk about while everybody was here is that, you know, if we brought that sidewalk in, Heather's idea, the idea Heather threw around is that we would here come in with an area where maybe you guys could put a bench or like a spot to sit. If that's something we want to think about, we might want to look at making that area a little larger, because right now I have it 6 foot wide, but the ADA turning radius is 5 foot. So if you guys really think you want to put like a bench or some chairs there, we would need to look at making that wider, because those chairs would need to be outside of the 6 foot or the 5 foot radius. And also just knowing the way people are, I was trying to keep your concrete area down in the park, right, for economic purposes. But if I was on this walking path, I think probably people are just gonna go like that and they're gonna walk across the grass. So we may wanna keep that in mind as well, of a way to connect those in a more pedestrian-friendly way. Like, people don't typically walk and then turn 90 degrees and then turn 90 degrees again. So those are things that maybe we could think about. But in general, I think this layout and this location was what Heather and I had talked about in the park. And I think Heather had been out there and she put, I don't know if they're still there, but there were some stakes out. And I didn't measure where the stakes were, but this would be approximately in that same location.
Sarah, does your ramp that doesn't feel like a ramp,
Yeah.
does that go clear up to flush with the gazebo floor so that somebody can roll clear into the?
Right, so the gazebo will sit down on the concrete pad, and I haven't seen drawings from Yoder's for the gazebo. So does the gazebo have a wood floor to it?
Yes.
Okay, so if it has a wood floor to it, that wood floor is gonna need to be flush with the top of the concrete. It needs to be ADA compliant, right? So that wood floor is gonna have to be flush with the top of our pad that would go up to the gazebo. Does that make sense? So there's gonna have to be an elevation change up there where the gazebo pad would be compared to where the sidewalk is. Does that answer your question?
Yes and no. So
Okay.
Are you counting on the gazebo then to having like its own little ramp?
That would be one option. What I'm saying is we would lower the gazebo down. So I would
like
need to
that idea
know,
better. But
that way the concrete would go straight up to the top of the wood floor
yeah,
of the gazebo.
I like that idea
That's
better.
what I'm proposing.
Then you end up with a ton of fill.
I would need
do
to
that?
see the drawings from Yoder's to see how deep that floor structure is, to see how that would work.
I mean, are they generally pretty big, like 2x6s or 2x8s?
I'm not sure if this isn't a huge footprint. It might only be 2x4. I mean, and I've also seen them, like we discussed, build without floors. So
Yeah,
we might
I've seen
see
them
how
where
we
they
work.
just sit down on the concrete too.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what got ordered. I don't know the answer to that. It would be preferable from a long-term perspective, from a maintenance perspective, having the concrete go all the way up so it's flush with the top of the wood floor.
Right, because otherwise you would have to have some sort of a wood ramp that would
Correct.
either be really steep or really long. Right?
Or like the one over here at the courthouse, right? There's a concrete ramp that goes up to it. Is there a concrete ramp across?
Yes.
Is that,
Yeah.
okay, I was gonna say, I feel like that's the way it is, but I guess maybe not. But that goes up pretty high, like gazebo across the street is pretty high. So, and what I'm proposing is that everything from that dash line north would have the footing underneath it, all the concrete pads, so the concrete pad would be, no matter what elevation it's at, would have footings that would go down across. So that would not move. And then the sidewalk would float. So that it would be free to move.
Just doing concrete.
So the gazebos that are in town that I'm familiar with, there's one over by the First Christian Church. And then the one on Courthouse Lawn.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking size-wise. So for the footprint that this gazebo will be sitting on, would it look too dwarfed for the size of Milroy? Or should we think bigger, and I don't know if you already bought it, but go with something that's more accommodating to gatherings, what kind of a facility Yoder has, but it just seems like it's small.
Go by Milroy tonight and see what you think. It's marked out, so you can kind of get a feel for it. I feel like it's a good balance when you think about the General Milroy statue at the other end, and we try to kind of line things up so it sort of looks like it should, and everything's kind of in line. It's a 12 by 12 gazebo. It's the same one that's at Halgrave, basically. That's the one.
That's the one I was thinking of, but it doesn't dwarf the footprint.
I don't feel like it does, but feel free to go take a look and see what you think.
But you already bought it, the gazebo.
It's on order.
So you can't change it. Yeah.
So why did it get ordered?
It's a gift.
I know, but I have the same questions that I think many of us have. But it'd be nice to kind of see what it is before it actually gets installed.
It's not been installed yet. That's why we're talking, and it's marked out so you can go peek if you'd like.
To me, it doesn't look like this is the scale. That second picture, to me, I looked at the flags that are out there. They look more centered in the park. This looks like it's barely off of the walking path. So is this the scale?
So based on the information for the barn, that drawing is not printed to scale, right?
Yeah, because like, to me, it looks like the flags are almost where you have that tree at.
Yeah.
The markings that are out there in the
It's
middle.
more
It looks
centered.
more like where the ice rink usually
It's more
is. This looks
centered.
like it's just barely off the path.
Yeah.
How long is that concrete approach to the gazebo?
24 feet. So from here to that dash line is 24 feet.
And if you didn't have the sidewalk to the north, are you still gonna have that bump out coming out to the
No,
side?
if you didn't have the sidewalk to the north, you wouldn't need any of this. This is only to accept those folks coming in from the north.
And there's not a back entrance to the gazebo, so there's only one entrance?
My understanding is there's only one entrance.
There's one entrance.
And there's no door on it, like, like a
Right.
screen door. There's no screens on it, so you don't have to worry about ADA clearances as far as like door clearances for approaches. You could just go straight in.
Are there any trees, especially the
It's
big ones?
hard
that
to
are
see.
being
There's a tree here. We have the trees on the survey. And when Heather and I walked the site, we tried to locate it so that we weren't underneath the tree. It was, that way it would be more centralized. But it can move if you guys would prefer it to be further in, like further north. It can be moved around. Where we don't have flexibility is bringing it closer to the pathway. So.
Like I said, just my personal perspective, visually, it looks like it's centered with the flags, but it doesn't look like it in these drawings.
Yes, I agree.
And is there sufficient lighting there for?
If there's not, we'll make it happen if there's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just, I kind of agree with Michael. It'd be nice if we had input as to whether we want sides, make it all open. Do you want to make it more like a concert gazebo as opposed to?
Well, what we see when we get, dictate.
So is
Even
it,
to get, you know,
is it like the one over here? It's like Halgrave.
I understand, but sometimes
Is that
you have
the same
input and
size?
you could gift. I'm not discounting the fact that it was a gift, but it'd be nice to have a conversation as to what the gift entails, so we could do that. I could give whatever, and that means you're gonna take it, because I'm gonna give you a gift. That's my only comment.
personally, I would. I'm not gonna look at gift horse in the mouth.
Well, no, but sometimes the gift needs to be fit into what it is that we as a department feel is necessary, and the ambiance of it and all, it fits into what we're trying to accomplish. I love the gift, and I think we should always look at that as an opportunity, but sometimes it needs to be evaluated as well. That's my only comment.
Sarah, would the approach require rails?
No. So if you go further into the park, to the north, I would probably look at raising it a little bit more. Because you don't want that path to get so flat or go down so that it collects water and snow over time. So we would look at that, but we would definitely do it so it doesn't require rails.
So you're talking about posting sayings, and that's a great idea. Would it be plaques
So no, it's the legacy plaque that the park department's doing, that you can, so it's a QR code that you scan.
Oh, okay.
There's one on Lacey's bench. I think we should, I'll pay for it, figure out how to get one on Bob's bicycle rack in
Right.
Filson Park.
That's, Boss has been paid for.
Oh, good, okay, make sure that that happens, but it would just be a QR code, just like any of the other memorials, yeah. Well, yeah, the pictures are great. Have you seen one? You should, because it's amazing. So they're amazing.
It's the See My Legacy program I've been talking about since about January that I've come in and discussed and shared the links for you guys to take a peek at. It's the same thing. That's how we're doing memorials now. So you can have a story that goes along with the memorial that talks about the person to whom that's dedicated. It's not anything new. It's just we're going to add it to memorials going forward as if people want those.
And it still says a name or something. It's not
Yes, it
just-
still says a name.
The gazebo, does it have seating built into it?
It can have a swing or it can have built-in benches.
Okay, built-in benches. And how many does it seat? Do you
Well,
know?
it's
Yeah.
just like Hal Gray, so I'm thinking
Yeah.
about that. You could probably put, I don't know, 6 or 8 people sitting around inside it.
Thank you.
To move things along, I think I wanted to thank Terry's family for making the donation to us, and all the work that Sarah and Jasper Foundation and Heather put into it. It'd be nice to get this project moving forward at this point. And if it needs more lighting, we'll be happy to provide that lighting from our end of it. But
We talked about, if the lights get plugged in there, the Christmas lights get plugged in, if there was a way to run power to it, not for it, but so there was another plug-in that was closer to where all that stuff got plugged in.
we could probably find a
You
way
might
to do
just-
that.
I don't do power, but.
I spoke with the electric department
Okay.
about
I
that.
just wondered.
It's no problem to
There's
run
a
power.
box hanging with tape around it on one of the poles.
And to add to this conversation, I've also met with Judy Caney, and she has walked through the project. We discussed it at length. We met at the park. We talked about all this with her being the county historian and with that being a historic site. We didn't want to do anything that would take away from, the monument to General Milroy. And Judy was very confident that it would not. She likes the idea of this, and she's also going to write we're also looking into, well, there are other aspects that I'll talk about. I don't want to keep Sarah for too long here, but we're looking at some things with General Milroy too, writing his story as well and having a plaque that will talk about why is he significant to this community as well. So we're looking at other aspects of improving that park aside from accepting this gift. So,
And those stones that are on College Avenue, where does that fit in with the gazebo? That display?
we planted some hostas around there. We're trying to beautify it. It's not close to it, really.
Hey Josh, can you go to the survey? Yeah, so you can see that those are right there. And what we're talking about is like right here, roughly.
So is the total, I guess so I'm understanding this correctly, is the project like completely covered by the gift? Or are you asking, is anybody asking us, the park from an aid?
I won't know if the concrete's like a weird moving thing, so, hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
But the labor will be handled in-house. We already have a plan to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for money, if that's what you're asking.
What's that?
I'm not asking us for any money.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just you. Yeah. She knows.
You know anybody at Kentland Bank?
For the right people there.
I think it would be a great mess up there.
I think it's a lovely gift and a lovely
It's a
thought
nice
from their
park.
family.
And there's only the benches along the sidewalks. I wish the benches weren't right along the sidewalks because who wants to sit and look at the street? To me, I think it'll be nice just to have somewhere to go and just, I don't know, reflect. And it's a beautiful park, but it's not really used that much.
And that's a goal that I have for our parks, to find new ways for people to interact with our spaces. So this would enable other people to interact with that park that are, other than those that are already using it. And that park was really significant when it comes to Terry Miller and what he did for our parks and what he enjoyed about our parks. So that's why this gift seems very fitting. And Melissa offered this months ago, so we are here to ask you to accept this gift tonight on her behalf, because we'd like to get back to Melissa and make sure, you know, I think she needs a little bit of information now from us to say, you know, where we
What
are in
color
this
is it?
process.
What
Pardon me?
color is it?
White.
White, okay. Like gazebo. Is it resin or is it wood?
Wood.
It's a painting job for you.
So it can
White would be pretty good.
refresh this one.
I'm with Stace though, I do think I pass it all the time and it looks centered, it looks good where that's at. This is not easy to follow, but where the park has it, I think it's in a good spot.
Sarah, one question, on the sidewalk, if you don't have that bump out for the, it looks to me like the sidewalk has two different sizes.
Yeah, so what,
Would you make that all the same size if
Yeah.
that bump out wasn't there?
yeah, if the bump out wasn't there, we would make this all the same size. So on this pathway, it's 8 foot, and you don't really need anything to be 8 foot going back to the gazebo. So I would reduce this, right now I have it at 7, I would reduce it to 6, and then just have it centered on the gazebo. In one of the items I wanted to talk about is if this is a future plan that you don't think you're gonna be doing, or the city doesn't think they're gonna be doing anytime soon, I wouldn't put this nub on it quite yet, because it's gonna be awkward, unless you felt like you were gonna put a bench on it for a little while, and then, but you're gonna have to take the bench off when you connect the sidewalk. You could just make it a straight shot, and then add this later, when you know what you're gonna do with that sidewalk connecting to it. Hey Josh, can you go up one page? The only thing I would keep in mind is, with these trees, I probably did skirt the pavilion potentially a little bit further this way than what's out there with the flags. But my thought was, if you're gonna connect to that guy up on the northwest corner, and somebody wanted to come down here, they're gonna go into the park to come back out. So I was trying to keep it maybe a little bit further. Does that make sense? Like this direction? But Heather and I can go out and look at it, and we can measure what the stakes are with the tape to get closer to that. But those were just some thoughts. But you don't have to do, like, we'll call it the nub, so to speak, at this point, if the sidewalk's not gonna be, if that sidewalk you don't think is gonna be installed for a while.
Does the gazebo have to sit on a pad?
If it doesn't, it'll sink.
Well,
Yeah,
There's a guy
because
right
we
there.
have a shed and it's sunk on one side. I would tell you.
What's the one by the library? What's underneath? the one
It's on
by-
an old pad.
It's on.
I'm not quite sure what's underneath that old pad either.
No.
It's been there a long time though, so whatever is there, it's worked.
If you don't put it on a pad, it's gonna instantly become ADA, non-compliant ADA as soon as the frost hits.
Yeah, it's gonna,
Well, you talked about using footers
Yeah.
underneath the slab. Can you just do the footers instead of the slab? And then you get rid of that finished work on the concrete,
that would be something that you'd have to coordinate with the Yoder drawings to see like
the width
what,
of the building.
I don't know the structure, I don't know how those are built, to see if you could just connect them and do like sonotubes, right, like the circle
Yeah.
piers you put concrete in.
Yep.
You just have to look at the Yoder drawings to see if that would work.
does the pad go beyond the gazebo or is it underneath it?
The information Heather showed me said it needed a 12 by 12 pad. So
So it's
That's
probably
where I
not
got
going
that
past
from.
it.
well, they didn't really have, to be honest, they didn't have a great plan drawing. So I don't know. I would recommend getting it here before you put a pad. Just to make sure things are gonna work the way you want.
Yeah, I just didn't know if the long term was the landscape around it or if it was gonna be concrete around it. That's the only reason I asked about that.
Heather had mentioned maybe landscaping, at least in the,
We'd like to.
on Washington Street. that way with some easy landscaping, right? Now, a concrete guy's gonna tell you he'd prefer not to do these little notches, right, for landscaping, because then he can just pour his pad straight through. But if we're gonna put a pad underneath the pavilion in, let's say it's recessed 4 inches, right? That pad's basically gonna be on grade, and then the sidewalk's gonna come up. So, it would be to basically towards the right, the elevation change.
I would make a motion that we go forward with the project and leave off the nub until the sidewalk is put in.
Second.
I'd like to add, I think, the park board's gratitude and appreciation to the Terry Miller family for making such a nice gesture. I think that ought to be part of it. I would really like to see a picture. I live in town too, I think all of us do, and people ask questions, hey, why did you do this, what's this about, or whatever. I don't know if any of us are equipped to go out and talk about it, except say, yeah, we're putting in a disabled, and that's really all I know about. And I think that this board deserves better, and I'm disappointed about that, because this needs to be a celebration, and I want to talk up the Miller family. It's hard to get people to donate and to do these nice things. All of us need to be able to go out and not sell the project, we're not selling anything here, but we need to say, yes, here's the background, here's what. And I think a lot of us came in and got ambushed by it, and that's doing a disservice to the donor. So I hope we don't see that. But I've never met a gazebo I didn't like. And I think anything that makes my town more attractive, I have people that come and visit relatives, friends. I show them. I've dragged people to the fire station. I bring them to the parks. I do all that stuff. I want to be able to have something intelligent to say about it.
Who picked it out? The gazebo? She did? The lady did, or did you?
I picked one that matches what we have at Halberry Park to continue with that theme that was already set in the parks.
That's good enough for me, because I feel like we've kind of given her reins to incorporate everything. And to me, I trust Heather to do the right thing to make our parks beautiful. And I think, I see what you're saying. It'd be nice to know the information behind it, but, we trust Heather to do these things for us, and she's not gonna pick something out that looks horrible. She's just not.
I agree. She's got better taste than I do.
And I
Especially
think
with
I
landscape.
trust her to do it and do it right and not do it.
I'm not the ignorant, but I've only seen one to be located on. I think another one besides the house.
What do you say?
You told me to draw a picture of the gazebo, I would draw a picture of the outbuilding.
I do.
Bigger than the others. You've never seen a square one.
No, but we do have a park board for a reason, and there are good reasons why we do things like that. But I think it's great, I'm excited, and I'd like to see it.
Do you guys have any other questions for Sarah? I don't want to keep her all evening.
Thank you, sir.
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds good.
Any
other questions come up? Heather, anything else?
No?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Britt.
So we have a motion and a first and a second. I threw in an add-on. Thank you with it. Any other discussion about that? Those in favor of approving the gazebo project and letting it move forward, commemorating Terry Miller, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I think that'll look very nice.
When do you expect to get started?
Maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
Check her out.
Good. Our last meeting, we didn't meet in July, it would have been in June. And I think that was kind of a hybrid. I don't know that we had a quorum, but we did have the comprehensive plan with the comments and different things. We got the planners, things like that. So I'm going to go to the agenda items. We have 2 open seats. We have, I'll just call it the Janelle Mush seat and the Jenny Boget seat. I don't know if we have any.
We didn't, it was just a follow-up to the
Yeah,
conference.
there was no, I think it was an informal,
That's what June was, and we didn't meet in July.
so we're probably good, sorry, as far as, no, that's fine. So the Mush seat and the Boget seat, we have 2 seats open. I believe they're the Park Corporation. Craig is the Mush.
Craig is the Mush seat.
No, you're the.
Craig is not mushy, Craig is Rick Williams.
He's the
Rick
Oh,
Williams.
that's right.
He's Rick
Oh,
Williams.
okay.
So no, they're both Park Corp seats, and we're down to,
Let's call you Ryan.
so you are Rick Williams.
I'm Rick Williams.
There you go, as far as that goes. But, so in the past, when we've had open seats, depending on who appoints, or nominates, things like that, but we want people that would make a nice contribution. We want, if I say diversity, I'm not talking race, sex, creed, that sort of thing necessarily, but we've had construction people and bankers and accountants and insurance. We have all kinds of different talents to draw from. So we do have, Jenny Boget was on, I want to say 7, 8 years, something like that. And she needs some more family time. She's got the young family leaving the nest, that sort of thing. So I've thanked her for all that she did for us, but she's finding it tougher to get to meetings. And I think that's true. This past year it's been a little bit rougher on her. And we never did fill Janelle's seat. I think it was earlier this year, that sort of thing. So we have 2, and I think that we have a voice in that to talk about who might be really good and who could really help us and bring something to the table.
Who are the official appointers?
Well, it's the Park Corporation, so it's going to be us.
So the park board is your official one. Craig, Sue, Mike, and Glenn. Am I missing somebody? Missing someone? We have 5.
There are 5.
No, not saying one. I gotta go pull the thing out.
Sue, Jan, Mr. Williams, myself.
Oh,
We're looking for court.
no, that's the board.
It was the
Park board itself.
Board, I'm sorry.
So I assume, Jan, you're on the park board from the school appointment? All right, that's the 5. And now those 5 can go ahead and now appoint someone that we hopefully have here in the audience to the Park Corporation, who I would highly recommend to put on there. Mostly because he's half my age, but, or even younger probably. But he's also an outstanding individual, works for the city of Rensselaer, has a house here in the city, starting to raise a young family, and I couldn't think of anybody better to get on the Park Corporation.
From what I understand, you utilize the parks quite often.
Very often.
Yeah. I've heard nothing but good things about Brienne, correct? Yeah.
And he's also been instrumental in getting the pool up and running this year.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
Did I understate that?
That should be noted.
Oh.
I'm a new guy. This is Ryan.
This is Brian.
Hey. Ryan, what can you tell us about you and Rensselaer, and what do you want us to know?
My name's Ryan Ritter. I'm born here, raised here, school here, now employed here as well. Young family, we utilize, well, me and my wife, but utilize the parks quite a bit, different disc golf league and stuff like that throughout the parks. I work for the city at the water and wastewater treatment plants. Helped quite a bit throughout the pool and other things like that. So I think I have like that to offer insight from both inside and outside on it, so.
Any other questions for folks?
Is there a certain vision that you'd like to see the parks move towards?
Well, I like the way things are going now. There's changes that have been made. Things are getting refreshed, updated. Things are looking very well now. Just like to see things going forward the same way.
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to nominate you.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions at this time. I will take a motion. We got 5 votes there. I guess you're right.
Official motion.
Official motion, I motion for right of board member.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Do we have any other questions or commentary?
Can he back out after tonight?
That's for life.
10-year
He's walking, he's on.
All those in favor of welcoming Mr. Ritter as the newest board member, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And you, Ryan, you get a bonus handshake too. Good to see you. So that's either Ms. Jenny or Ms. Janelle. So
We'll go with Jenny now, then we'll continue the search, I'll put it that way. And again, I'd love for all park board members to continue looking themselves and make those recommendations.
good. Welcome aboard. And if you have any questions or concerns, any of us would be glad to work with you and talk to you in that way.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, let's get on to the really exciting stuff, the financial update.
So I have bank statements in hand. So currently our concessions account has $17,641.57. And the main account has $41,066.05. That's not a true picture. There's a lot of in and out right now as I pay out our summer help, as I invoice USSSA for the tournaments that we had. So right now it's kind of, there's a lot of things going on. So next month I'll have a better handle on where we are. And then I'd like Glenn to speak a little bit about our process that we're going through right now with Addie and how things are changing over and what we're looking at doing financially.
We are in the process of moving forward on 2024. We're still working. Joe put together the books from January to August. But in this transition, we're trying to digitize, automate our accounting. And so we have purchased QuickBooks Online, which gives us the ability to link with all of our facilities as well as banking facilities as well as credit cards. So that way, Addie's going to be our gallon charge. And she's going to do the accounting bookkeeping. So she'll be able to link into credit cards, banks, and then do postings. I think we'll get a lot more timely. Joe did a great job. No stones at Joe. Did a great job, but this will give us more timely, I think, a little bit broader and more specific details on a monthly basis like we are here, instead of waiting until the annual meeting and we sit down and we go over, and you guys, by the second sentence, you're just a little bit nuts. So we're going to avoid all that, and we're going to be looking at this more on a monthly. We'll be able to break down depart by departments and look at revenue and expenses specific for those departments so we can get a better handle. As we said many, many, many times, the park doesn't make money, never had, never will. And for our ability to try to budget and see how it is we can put monies aside for projects, never going to happen. So we rely on donors and gifts, and so thankful for this family that put together this project because that's how we operate. But we sustain ourselves through programming. And we try to make our programming affordable, yet profitable, which is kind of a oxymoron, profitable and affordable. So with that being said, we've always run around $37,000 to $40,000 a year in our accounts. And so our focus will be just how we can maximize the profitability so that we're not going backwards. Because I believe we'll never go forward, and that's a good thing. Because the last thing we want to do is make money. In our community, we're just trying to sustain and offer more programming. So That's why we tried to get soccer and some of the other bigger leagues into the park system. Didn't work that way, but States does a great job with getting tournaments in so we can make money there. We can maybe expand concessions, but these are all kinds of questions that we can answer based on information that I believe Addie will be able to provide for us once we get the system up. So we have a meeting on Wednesday to introduce that concept and to get moving. So hopefully by next month we'll be able to throw something at you and put you to sleep. They have in the district.
And then Glenn, we talked about the check account and signers and things.
So up to this point, we have been using a dual system. What I mean by that is in order for anybody to spend money in the park department, we have to have two signatures, Michael and myself. So the thought is, as opposed to Heather running around trying to find both of us, so us to sign checks is very difficult. So I just want to maybe look at how it is that we can streamline that process so that when a check is due, she doesn't have to go find two people to sign in order to authorize that payment. So I believe it needs a formal vote by this board in order to change that system. But I'd like to talk about it first. It is an internal control feature that you have these dual signatures, so it is necessary at some point, sometimes. But if we're going to be doing reconciliations and looking after the fact, again, trust Heather that what she does is at the utmost honesty and integrity. And sometimes it's not the payment of the bill, but it's the procurement of the bill that you want to try to safeguard. And it's the charging, not the payment. So again, as we look at that and have a closer handle on month to months, I don't know if the dual signature still works for us. But I'd be happy to have a conversation and see what you all think about that.
I think we meet every month. Certainly, we might miss one or two during the year if we don't think there is anything. I was happy to go down and talk to Addie and sign whatever she asked me to sign. I can't remember what it was, but I think it makes a lot of sense. But I wonder if, and it's important that everybody hears it too. I think it's for your protection, because people like to bite your ankles in small towns. You painted a gazebo after talking to people. I'm still hearing about it. I think maybe some of the other people hear about it. And I don't know if that's fair. And so I would say on the minor stuff, I think that's a great thing, but we could arbitrarily pick $2,500 or something, whatever you think might be appropriate, that if it's going to be more consequential, that maybe we should say, all right, we want to have the board rubber stamp it or sign up, so you don't take the heat. So you can say, the board told me to do this. It's not that I think you're going to go running off with the money and go on vacation with it. We all know better than that.
But I'll take one step back, though. It's really not the payment of the bill, but it's the commitment to pay the bill. So if you're going to rubber stamp a threshold, then it needs to be on the commitment side, not on the payment side.
That's fine.
So I'm just trying to say, if you're going to make a motion to that effect, I think it's going to be what can Heather commit the RCDC to encumber, as opposed to.
But there ought to be something, because that's not fair to her, and then somebody gets cold feet, wet feet, something like that. I don't care what the value is. That's what, but that's, and especially if Eddie's going to help us too, if that's a different level of accountability. I just think that she needs some of that protection too, so she can say, hey, it was under this much, that's not a problem. I don't want anybody to mess with them and fool with you over small stuff. We don't want to micromanage things, but the bigger stuff, I think we have to be able to talk to the community about. So whatever that value would be, that's the only thing I would say with that. The other thing too, there are sunshine laws, and we can't have a club amongst us and just email back and forth. In the past, we'll say, well, we anticipate Heather's going to find out what the bill will be exactly, and this is a rough neighborhood, so. And we'll confirm it by email, but we can't conduct new business by email, or we're going to get bitten sooner or later. Someone in the community is going to say, hey, it's a sham. They're running their own party by their own rules. They're not really involved in the community. So sometimes we can lay the groundwork, but unless it's truly in an emergency, we got to have things discussed at the meetings. We meet often enough. So
are you
again,
referencing a certain, what are you referencing? You're saying?
There was an email chain that got started recently saying, hey, can we do something, do this? We just need to bring it up because
Oh, the one I sent about this particular
99% of the time, whether it's a gazebo or this or that, we're here to give you some cover and most likely saying yes. But where we're gonna have problems is if we don't do that, we get out of the habit, and all of a sudden, Sue says to somebody who asks her, well, I didn't know about that. That's just setting us up for trouble. So I'd just like to see us have some of those thresholds, and whatever it needs to be, but I think it's just to protect you guys, really. And we shouldn't have, you can't go talk to the judge and try your case without the other side being there too, right? It's the same idea in all these things. And, that's why they have the rules. I think there was a meeting that, breakfast with the mayor, I think it was, that sort of thing. I wanted you to come, I always like to see you, but then all of a sudden it turns into an unpublished meeting if we get too many people in the same place talking about the same things. We just gotta watch that, that's all I would say. Not that I'm trying to be a lawyer about it, but sometimes people play gotcha. So those are the two things I would talk about.
So what is the, I mean, what are we thinking, I guess, as far as the checks that you're typically signing? I mean, are there, I mean, what's the average size of the check that?
I think it's more for personnel, smaller items, but they're numerous.
Okay.
I can't think of anything that jumps out or that really can attest to an average.
Okay.
But I think it's the larger purchases, and I would maybe look at a threshold of 2,500 to 3,000 would be, and it'd be a
Reasonable, that would give, it would free up enough.
But I think you make a good point earlier that it's the commitment, it's not the,
exactly.
it's not paying bill, because it's the committee to.
Thank you. Something at the backboards. How much were those? The backboards are $1,200.
Yeah, I haven't replaced that yet.
No, but I'm just talking about the ability to talk about what would be that threshold. So if you're looking at a 1,200 to 2,000, maybe we could start there and then increase it later. It's better to start low than go high. So I'll make a motion that we rescind the dual signature requirement on our checks, go back to a single signature, Heather being that individual who would have responsibility, and only Heather. I don't think any other members, obviously Michael and I, president and treasurer, could sign it if you're not here. And whoever's on the card, I don't know if Addie should sign checks at this point. I think it's going to be yourself. And I would say that the threshold would be $2,500 in procurement as opposed to the check writing. So you can't encumber the RCDC any more than $2,500 without a formal vote from the board.
And Addie is on the account.
She is, but I don't know if she can sign, and I'm just trying to protect her as well. So the only person that can sign a check is you, Michael.
So you're on the account, but you can't sign. What is that?
Well, I'm just talking about the logistics of seeing a signature on a check. I would rather keep it to an officer of.
I think what you're saying, that she's on the account, but she can't sign.
So she's on the account, I think she can sign. That's my point. She's on the account because she needs to be on the account so that we can do this linking with our accounting system. So if there's questions or she has need for financial information, she can call the bank and she can have access to it because she's listed as an account representative. But she would have signing authority being listed on the signature card. That's how she gets access to the accounts.
But to keep internal control, you're just gonna have the department head be the one that does it.
Even though she can, you don't.
Right.
Thank you. That's exactly right. Even though she can, I think it's good policy that she not be.
Right.
And that's for her protection as well as
Right.
the outside. Seeing a check written, signed by Addie, like what's going on there? So that's part of my motion as well, I think.
I'd second that.
Did you get a credit card yet?
Yes.
What was the threshold you said?
2,500. Is that comfortable, Heather? Is that?
Will that take care of most
I
things?
think I was kind of looking at our recent checks. There is one to Spear Corporation for $3,100. But typically they're rather low. They're numerous, at this time of year, and they're small. So I think that's probably a safe number.
But again, it's not the writing of the check, it's the encumbering of the debt.
Sure.
So you couldn't charge anything more than $2,000 without talking about the board? I mean, is that acceptable?
I think so. Well, as we discussed at our last meeting and you approved, I did, buy some of the items ahead of time that Rotary was going to donate to. So like, for instance, the slide was over that amount. Like, there are sometimes some large scale purchases that are gonna exceed that. The lounge chairs that I purchased also exceed that amount as well.
But in that case, you'd have to come back to the board to get approval to buy those chairs. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what the threshold means.
Even if it's a donation like that?
If it doesn't come out of our pocket, then no, it's not a threshold. If somebody donates it.
Yeah, that was the thing where we knew the money was coming, but we wanted to have
It's like reimbursed.
Yeah,
More
reimbursed.
reimbursement. But the thing, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's a restricted transaction. I think the restricted is if it's a net outlay on the corporation's part, then it needs to be approved.
Can she do that through email? If she has to?
I don't think you can do it through email, you'd have to actually you could do it through, where you allow her to do it through a phone and then back it up
Okay.
with a vote in person. So she could call each member separate to get that approved, and then just have it ratified at the next meeting.
I think it was last fall, we wanted to get the mural going on the
Yeah.
pool. We were afraid about losing the weather and that kind of stuff. And, So sometimes we have some stuff. I don't think we're sticks in the mud. It's just, I don't want somebody coming up biting us out of the blue. That kind of stuff. That's not fair to you. We've had some of that. So we have a first. Did we get a second? And a second. Any other comments? Concerns? Okay.
Effective immediately.
All those in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? It shall pass. Before we leave the topic, do we have any idea how healthy we look as a result of our tournaments this year? 'Cause I don't know. I know we've taken some steps forward, but I don't know if the money followed us or not.
I can let you know that next month because I'm pulling those things together right now.
And that's not fun, is it?
No, so that's all coming together as, I worked on that again today, so I can report that next month.
And there is always stuff in and out. The light plant feasibility.
Mayor, would you like to address that for us?
We've asked HWC Engineering to take a look at the light plant, address some of the structural concerns that we may have with a building of that age, and actually utilizing the park itself for some occupancy down the road. They did give us some preliminary suggestions that we'll start with. Some of the things we've already put in motion, just on the electric side of things, because when you remove a lot of the heavy equipment that we had inside there, there were things that you couldn't see until you had a huge muffler moved. Well, now we can see. Well, Stacy knows what I'm talking about. So now you can see that we need some tuck pointing done, we need some roof stuff done. But it was really nice suggestions by our insurance company to have these inspections done on an annual basis so we can find some of that stuff. HWC made some nice suggestions also on entrance and exits. And then parking will be obviously one of our bigger issues also when we get down the road. But the one thing that was interesting to me, and again, it'll be up to the board how you want to move forward, but they also expressed an interest in helping us with marketing. And at some point, if we're going to move forward with a project of this scope, we're going to probably need that marketing help to go find partners that we can collaborate with and help us move forward on a project of this scale. I think it has all kinds of opportunities. I think they were right in line with what we were thinking with the bathrooms in a certain location. And they didn't mention the kitchen, but the kitchen would be in a certain location. And then we could utilize the larger area and probably the secondary area that has some floor issues. But again, it goes back to some structural issues we have even in that location that we're going to have to get fixed prior to it. Some of those things, like I said, are already in progress of getting fixed now. Some of those things are gonna take a while. That's nice. Did I miss anything?
I think that's perfect.
Okay. But I really enjoyed working with HWC and their team. It's been a pleasure, even as far as the park master plan. So they've done a fantastic job.
Would you say it takes a while? Does that mean limited use of the facility till those things get fixed?
The bigger issues are going to be the ADA issues that we'll have to deal with. So parking, when you start, you have to have so many bathrooms, you have to have so many entrances and exits. Some of those things we can handle. Parking might even be easier than some of the other stuff, but the workforce has some things that we got to do to clean up the building itself yet, and we can do some of those things on our own. It's just the scale of it all, Glenn. I mean, I don't know if you've been in that basement.
Scared you?
Yeah, the scale of it. Ryan's grinning at me now too. Even Stacy's got a halfway grin on his face. The scale of it's kind of overwhelming right now. The floor that they put in when they did the demolition was just so disappointing. The one next to where the office is now, a lot of it was disappointing, but it's going to take us. That's what I mean by the scale. There are still things that we can do workforce-wise that I think to help clean up. They identified the same things that we've already identified on getting cleaned up. So that's the sheer amount of it.
But you can't use the upper floors until the basement is.
Well, the basement's not so bad. We can always block the basement off. We blocked the basement off at City Hall back in 2012, the last time we did our ADA compliance inspection with the company there. So there are things that we can do to limit access to, but to get entrance and exit that's ADA compliant will be, it's not as bad. We did the sidewalk out front, but there's bathrooms. Bathrooms are going to be bad. That whole place is full of concrete, and not just a little bit of concrete. Wouldn't you say, Jeff?
I would say concrete and very thick steel plating.
And then we got to find out what wires are still need to be there, what wires need to be taken out. Some other things need to be taken out there. And I wouldn't bring up the asbestos word, but we might have to look at some of that stuff. And I thought most of that was out of there with that demolition. But, yeah.
Mayor, when you talked about opportunities for partnership, are you talking public fundraiser, or are you talking grants? Do you envision?
Well, grants are probably the one that we would apply for first, but the big thing is prioritizing is probably where I'm leaning first. When we get back our master plan, what is our priority? Is our priority a new pool with a splash pad? Is our priority fixing a type of community center that we can have winter access to, that will allow people to do things in the winter? So a lot of it's going to be what the park board, what direction you guys want to go, and what you want to prioritize, and then you turn Heather and I loose, and we'll start working with HWC on marketing, and we'll go the direction that you guys all feel is the most prioritized.
I did find it interesting. I think they said what the capacity for that main area was 350 people.
I couldn't believe that. That was a very nice
That's one
capacity.
area.
That really brings a lot into your mind. If you could put a kitchen and some bathrooms in there.
Wow. It doesn't look that big, does it?
Well, yeah, no. Yes and no. Just don't go over to the one side of the floor.
And that leads us into the comprehensive plan, the update. Last time we heard, I think we were looking at January. Is that still on course for that, or is this
I'll turn that one over to Heather.
accelerated a bit? Or what do you suppose?
We're still on course for January. So what happened last week is they got together several community groups. We were asked to make a list about, who are some of your partners in the community, who are the people that utilize the park. So I gave them things like RBI Baseball, the Soccer League, Prairie Arts Council, those kinds of organizations. So Eric put those groups together and met with them virtually and got input. He had questions that he asked each group about, how do they utilize the parks? What do they see? What are the things that are going well? What do we need to improve upon? from safety issues to facilities or, all of those things. The questions he asked ran the gamut. So Eric indicated that he got a lot of positive feedback from the groups with whom he spoke. So I'll be interested to hear some of that later. So he's kind of putting some of that together. We'll be sharing that with us at some point. But as I understand it, we'll be meeting again in January. It seems like a while away, but I think he's going to put some of that together in these coming months and then come back to us. So it was a good week.
How many surveys are being on that?
You know what? He didn't give me that number yet. I don't know.
Then the target's 500.
The target was 500.
Yeah, we're close. It's close, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
A little bit under.
It was like 460 range, I thought.
So I'm not sure where that ended up.
But she said, a few more is not going to really make a big difference.
Yeah, he definitely saw trends from the folks that he heard back from.
Splash pad was a big trend, wasn't it?
Ron made one last week at Folsom Park. I don't know if you guys saw it.
No.
He overfilled it.
There you go.
And then Blacker tournaments for next year.
So I did hear from Corey, the head of USSSA from Indiana. He has some weekends that he really is wanting to utilize our facility. He said these are dates that he 100% needs. He wants May 1st through the 3rd, May 8th through the 10th, and May 15th through the 17th. I'm not opposed to bringing USSSA back in, but in our conversation last week, I indicated a few things to him that concern me about the tournaments. So I want to share with you some of my concerns about things that I saw. I'm not trying to vilify this organization. They're a great organization for youth. But here's some things that I saw that I would like us to consider asking for them. I feel like we give to get them to come, but I also feel like there needs to be some respect shown to our parks because, we're not just about ball tournaments, we're about serving our whole community and the needs that they all have. So one thing that I noticed that was a major safety issue, and I indicated this to Corey in our conversation, I had concerns about live bats in the park. There were coaches pitching to kids and hitting. We had a pitching machine in the park at one point. I just don't feel like that's safe to be happening. I understand we don't have batting cages, and I'm sorry that we don't yet, but it's still not a safe practice for that to be happening in our park, so I expressed my concern about that. I also have concerns about alcohol and tobacco coming in on the weekends with parents. That's been a concern expressed by our field director and others who participate at the tournament. So that's something that I want to make sure isn't happening. We're serving children at these events, so there's no reason for tobacco and alcohol to be present from my perspective. Additionally, I would like to see them assist a little bit more in the cleaning just of the dugouts. That could help us a lot, and that's not a big deal to have your team pick up. So that was the thing that I requested of Corey. Could he please extend that to the folks that are coming in and ask for that help? And then also I indicated that we had some concerns expressed by our citizenry about our shelter reservations being honored. There were the people from the tournaments were utilizing shelters. It was posted that it was reserved, but we still had those issues. So those are things that I expressed to Corey that I would like to see improved and changed. So we'll continue to talk. I will tell you, and I'm not putting down that organization, and I think it's great to have them as guests. But I just want to say, in my first year observing, those are the things that I saw that stood out to me. Operating the gates seemed to work quite well. We did block off part of the parking lot. It didn't make all of our people happy that wanted to utilize the parks, but once they got to the gate and realized they didn't have to pay and the park wasn't closed, they were satisfied. I would also like to say that I would like to make some changes next year with the way that we do lots of things at Blacker Fields. I found lots of overlap in our staff that we've hired. I shared with the mayor my ideas about streamlining some of those positions. And once I have some feedback as that goes through that process, I'll come back to all of you and share what those ideas might look like about how we streamline it. I found ways to save the city money and to save you all money as well. So I'll come back at another time and share some of those ideas. I'll be more specific about it. But I feel like there's a lot of trimming of the fat that we could do. And I'm a doer, I'm not a sitter, and I just feel like it's hard to see me that we're paying people to sit in a chair. Can I just say that like that? I'm sorry if that's too blunt, but that's what I saw, and I just feel like that's not what you're paid to do when you're paid to attend an event for us. So I'll be sharing more about that as time goes forward. But I would like to say, and Stace and I have talked about this, I really think NSF, the Girls Softball League, could really be a wonderful organization to bring into our parks. They were really easy to work with. They loved our fields, had nothing but good things to say, and I feel like they were very appreciative of what we offered them. So I'm going to be reaching out to their director again and seeing if we can line up some more tournaments through that organization. Also, RBI has an interest potentially in having some tournaments on our field, so I'd like to go down that road too and have some of our local teams playing on our fields. I think people would really like that. The tournament that I'd hope to have in July, this year we didn't end up going that route to have a weekend tournament. We ended up running it through the week. That's what kind of worked out better for the schedule, so we left it as that. But I do really like the idea that Mike proposed some time ago about next year, with it being the 250th birthday of our country, to have some kind of event at Blacker Field, some kind of community event. So that's on my radar, something I'm building towards. And Nancy and I have been talking a little bit about other things that are going on related to the 250th birthday. So I'll be coming back to you as we put some things together and collaborate together, Nancy and I. So I'm moving forward to get things planned. Once I have some more things in place, I'll come back to you and share the proposed schedule with all of you. But like I said, I think I want to institute some of our own rules and expectations with our guests and make sure that they honor our facilities in the way that we'd like to see them honored. Because, you know, we're caretakers of these facilities, and I want people to come in and respect our parks. They belong to our community. So there's the update on Blacker Field's terms.
So as you look at maybe an ancillary task in these tournaments, is concessions, you see revamping concessions at all?
Yes. Yes.
That's a good thing.
So I'll come back to you probably, I would assume by next month I can share some of that information.
Well, I hope so.
Okay, all right.
Even on the summer swim program, and I don't know how, if you want the city to make a contribution or if you want the park corporation to make a contribution, but we paid summer swim coaches since I can remember through the city, and I don't know that that's necessary to do those. And I know we probably talked about it before, but there's got to be a better way to do that. Maybe have a summer swim program cover their own coaches if the city makes a contribution or park corporation makes a contribution, but let's get those people off our books.
And I found some ways to combine some positions. Again, there's a lot of overlap, and I do have some strong candidates to fill those spots, but I'm just waiting for the process to move forward at the city level, and then again, I'll come back to all of you.
Would summer swim fit in the same realm as a baseball league? The City of Rensselaer offers youth baseball. Would City of Rensselaer offer summer swim team that would be run through the RCRDC books, both revenue and expenses?
It doesn't take place
Go ahead.
It doesn't take place in the park at all, it's all at times.
I understand, but we're talking about paying coaches, so.
Probably not the way it's set up now. It would be a handful. I don't think we have a facility either, other than using the high school facility. So, I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say there.
No, it's a program that the park department would sponsor. It doesn't have to be on our facility if we're going to sponsor a program.
I think that's what he's saying with the donation.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, is that what you're saying there?
Yeah, the program still stays kind of in place the way it is, but all the books have been run through the clerk treasurer's office since I can remember, and I don't know why. I mean, we really don't have a whole lot to do with that program itself. So
it used to happen at Brookside at the pool.
yeah, I don't remember that though.
You can still see some of the lane marker holes where they filled them in, but we're talking like 1970.
What? I remember the 70s, but I just don't remember it there. I mean, I've been in the high school since I can remember.
Many.
So again, would this summer swim league be a park-sponsored athletic event that we would, because they raise money, right? People pay to participate.
But they have their own,
And they're on board.
their own
Just like soccer.
501c.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know that, yeah.
No, you could talk to the guy I know, so should be close to your
I think I know
office.
him. I think I do know him. The same guy that does the soccer. That's why I didn't realize that was the case.
Yeah. Does anybody know with Fair Oaks new facility if they're putting softball fields in? Aren't they?
That Marbella, is that what you're talking about?
Whatever Fair Oaks is putting in that, all that women's sports
Women's
facilities,
facility.
isn't softball field going in there?
Yes.
I think it's supposed to be part of it.
It's just gonna make it even harder to compete. Because I agree with Heather that the softball organizations is by far the number one marketing idea to get put in there, but it's gonna get harder when those things are, who knows how many, I bet they're gonna park at least 8 of them up there.
Maybe we can grab some people early though and make them really love us.
Well, you know, some travel balls play at more than one place, you know. If they get big enough, they may need an overflow,
Yeah, well, that's
you
what,
know.
But don't you think they'll draw big time though? I mean, I would think they'd draw more people from the city than us. I don't know, that's how I feel, like Ground Point, Lowell, I mean, some of those places that really are top teams, I think that they'll, I don't know, maybe they'll draw.
Their initial circle for marketing was 250 miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
oh, wow.
Yeah, because we're pulling the Lowells and the, you know, big cities around here to Blacker for those tournaments, you know.
Yeah.
Those guys could probably pull some of the Wisconsin, Michigans,
Yeah.
Ohio's, you know, get a more of a Grand Park bowl.
And they're gonna have places to stay, so those people will do that,
Right.
you know.
U-Trip's been good to us over the years, but I remember they had 14 tournaments and then maybe down to 11 and 7 and 5, you know, 3. And they cram them into the one weekend, which makes it hard for you guys to have all those teams come. And I don't know, I'm not convinced it's mega profitable, but I'd like to see how our concessions did. So that's why I'm thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's not about your record keeping, I just want to know if it's worth our while for you.
Well,
Is he still one of the Aprils?
There's an April that he hasn't confirmed yet, and I said, I'll bring this to the board and share what you're asking. He potentially wants a date in April, but he's trying to get it, he's maybe gonna be able to use Crown Point. We're kind of the backup plan, I feel like, you know. Yeah, and it's, the way that it gets scheduled, it's, yeah, back to back to back to back to back. So it's really hard to.
The other one we need, Mike, is tourism to come talk to this board on how they're tracking where that funding goes. So these groups are coming to our city. Where do they go once they're here? So tourism found a way, I believe, to track where people are going and spending their money. And I'd like for them to come and talk to the park board about it also.
Well, and
It's surprising, really, where they were going.
And I think we need to come up with what's our philosophy about these tournaments. Is it a moneymaker, or is it our goal as community hosts to just bring people in to our community so that they go spend money elsewhere? I think we really need to figure out as a group here, what's our goal with this? Are we trying to make money, or are we just trying to bring people in? Or are we trying to, or is it somewhere in the middle? I don't know. So I think we need to, as a group, come up with some direction about that so I can better work towards our group goal for that. And I'm not asking for an answer right now. I think it's something we need to think about a little bit, like, what are we trying to do? You know?
I think it's fair. It's a lot of work, and I want to make sure it's being fair to you guys, certainly, too.
It's a lot of trash.
I
It's a lot of
hauled some on
overtime.
others that's heavy stuff.
By the way, thank you for moving the dumpsters. I drove by this morning. That's a good place to put those.
Do you like those there?
I do like them. They're better than where it was.
Where are they at?
Under the trees all the way back behind the parking lot. So it
Not a
looks
glass.
really nice there.
Clear to the west.
Yeah.
They're out of Blacker where, that's where a lot of our trash is.
Yeah, it is.
Moved from where they were by the kind of like where the pickleball courts.
Well, we had them there for a little bit, but we weren't sure about that spot. But JC Cruisers needed us to move those so they could get the cars through. And we knew that wasn't really the spot, but we just knew we needed them at that location. But previously, they were air quoting, and I couldn't understand it because, we're spending the time to drop the trash and then come back and filling. So, and I'm sure at one time, air quote was a hub and there was a lot going on there, but, now I really feel like it's not where the people are.
Only be known for the trash in the containers.
Working on it.
Other updates? Anything else?
So, okay, I have a few updates for you. I'm gonna pull my notes here and give you a quick rundown of some things that are going on. So, we were very lucky this summer to receive a lovely gift from Rotary, a $10,000 donation to us. So, the water slide is now installed, the lounge chairs are installed, the cornhole boards have come in. We have a floating chipping green that I thought could be utilized at private parties. So those things have been put in place. We purchased that with our funds, and then we will be reimbursed from Rotary. That's how that will work. So that was a lovely, lovely thing that they did for us. Something that they're asking us to do is they'd like some signage, giving them credit for their donation, which is fair. So that probably won't happen. It's obviously not gonna happen this swim season, but I'm hoping to have some kind of big event next year when we open the pool to thank Rotary publicly. So I'll keep you in the loop as we plan that event to thank them. Our pool hours this week, so we'll run through Wednesday with our normal hours, so we'll go 12 to 5, and then on Thursday and Friday, we're starting a new tradition. Now that the kids are in school, we're gonna have a couple adult swim days, and I've rounded up some old guards and another old guard, and a lady who'll run the office up there, and we're gonna staff the pool with limited people, but I don't expect a big group, but we'll run 10 to 2 those 2 days when the kids are in school, adults only. They can bring a float, they can bring a snack, and just hang out and enjoy the pool those 2 days. Saturday, we'll run normal pool hours. Sunday, we'll run normal pool hours. And then we have a new tradition we're gonna start. We're gonna have a doggy swim day. So before we drain the pool, folks who are registered with our dog park can bring in their pet, their furry friend, and swim for an hour. So we'll see how it goes.
Turn the filter off first.
Yeah, shut her down, drain it. Other things that are going on, we participated in Kids Night with the Chamber of Commerce. We participated in a couple of workshops with the Rensselaer Urban Forestry Council. Men's softball ends this week. Let's see, we had a glow disc tournament last Friday, very well attended. We had 18 teams that signed up and played, super fun, really. Disc golf is growing. I give credit to Cody and Shannon Heldak for really making that become so popular in our community. You know, they've thrown out their ideas to me and I'm like, let's do it. They're just doers and I appreciate them so very much. So our new plan is we're gonna have pop-up pool events here and there on Friday nights. We'll put it out on our social media and just kind of have just kind of come out and play kind of thing. Have a low admission fee and just try to, again, raise a little bit more funds so that we can put in some concrete tee pads to improve our disc golf, of course, even more. And I will be reporting very soon about the data that's collected by our app Youth Disc. It tells a lot about the usage of that course, who's coming, where they're coming from, how often they're playing. That is if they log their score that way. So I think you'd be really surprised to know how much usage that really is getting. And again, it took a couple people who are really interested to get the rest of us to play. I mean, it's really great. So,
When is the DORA thing?
We'll introduce it next council meeting, the 11th.
okay.
I assume it'll pass, then the Alcoholic Beverage Commission has to give their blessing.
It probably will be available this year.
I think it'll be available probably Oktoberfest, but maybe not Locust at Jasper.
Might help with the Friday night glow.
Could help.
Yeah.
We're planning a Halloween event, costume event with glow discs. Yeah, so
Just,
it's great.
Brookside is not included in that, but
No.
that wouldn't prevent you according to what the mayor's told me, so.
You're quiet.
We had a pack,
Way to go, Josh.
other good news, we had a pool vacuum donated, ours broke, and a kind person donated a new pool vacuum. We have some plans, as you know, for Hal Gray Park and making some improvements there at some point and honoring Hal Gray, who was a music teacher. So I'll come back to you as those plans develop. So these rain drums were donated. I don't know if you've had any experience with this, but you put them out in the rain, and then when the drops hit, it's like a musical instrument. If you want to bang on a little bit too and try it out, you can. So they're pretty
Tried
cool. So
I've tried them.
you have.
Yeah,
So what I'm
It's really cool.
again, the idea is making each park more interactive in different ways. So we had some nice folks who donated a dozen of those to our parks. So we're gonna be looking at a way that we can attach it to some kind of stand, so it doesn't, they don't walk away. So we are fueled by kind people. That's what keeps us going. We really are. So I appreciate that gift.
There's a lot of that in the sensory parks, a
Absolutely.
lot of that.
Yes.
Yeah, they're bigger in scale, but
I saw some in San Francisco airport too, if I think about it.
yeah.
Okay, I don't want to keep you long, so let me see what else is on this that I wanted to tell you about. Any other updates? We have some cracks on our basketball court at Foundation. We have some cracks on our path at Milroy Park as well, so I'm looking into getting those things repaired. And then we continue to try to settle into the light plant and do the best we can to make that our new home. We love our location. It's great. So, do you have questions for me about anything I reported or anything else that you've noticed or anything else that's going on? Yes.
Fence around the pickleball court?
We have donors that are going to install it. They're donating it, installing it. And what I was told when I called a couple weeks ago, that would either be the first or second week of August. Because at that point, they anticipated some other project work that they had going would be completed.
So then once the fences are up, then the post will be set, and
Yes.
I can tell this guy from the port to stop bugging me, they don't go the other way.
So, and
I'm glad to know what they're doing.
I'll wait from the port, they're like, are your courts done yet?
so I learned, much to my dismay, projects a lot slower than I would like.
Especially with donated.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 If you're willing to pay, you can get them done
Yeah,
much quicker, but
But yes.
10 times the cost.
Well, backboard replacement.
I haven't touched it. I'm punishing the install. But around it, but I will.
Yeah.
I will do that, yes. I just haven't done it yet, just kind of giving that a little time.
Are we researching different materials,
Steve sent me some other suggestions. Do you guys have input on what you'd like to see?
something that can be broken?
Okay.
The
Yeah.
problem is with the metal, like a New York style backboard, you're gonna have to replace the whole post too. They don't make them to just stick on there.
We have a machine shop in
What is that?
Wow.
So I think that's something you all need to think about. What do you want there? And that's something we can decide next month if you'd like. If you'd like to give some guidance to that. I don't know, but to me, I haven't been in a hurry about it.
But all the bank courts that we have, that's the only one that's been broken, right? We
This
have
is
a
the second.
Second one.
Second one.
second one in that location.
No, Foundation was the other one.
I thought one was the third one, because there was
There was one
Yeah.
in Brookside that was broke a couple years ago.
Yeah, it is, yep, it's the third.
No, but I know it's about another place to tie in,
Yeah.
Previous stuff just.
catch somebody.
The plywood ones at Columbia Park do not break though. Those are still up.
Yeah, for years. We made some progress with some of our vandalism that had happened at Iroquois Park in the south restrooms. I did receive some information from the prosecutor's office, so I'll be sending some information related to costs to repair that to them. So that's a positive move. I'm glad to see that
I
happen.
guess I would like to see, yeah, if we're gonna make a change on, I would like to see some examples of what, if we are gonna make a different backboard choice, because I think the ones that are up there look really nice. Unfortunately, if you could get the hoodlums to stop shooting them out or whatever they're doing, that'd be awesome, but yeah.
And then also, do you match the other side too?
That's
Well,
the
you
other
don't
part
have to
too.
do that. and-
Right.
Yeah, so I think if we're gonna make a change, I would like to see what is the change gonna look like before we make a decision.
Yeah, I'll share with you guys. I don't, again, that to me, that I sound like, I was, it's a guard.
She was good.
You were.
Great three-point shooter.
I'll come back to you about that. It's just, again, it's just so disheartening to put the money into it and the time into it and see it be broken.
Yeah.
But I want to add to that, to this conversation, we have had some new cameras installed and some new lighting installed. So we're hoping that's going to deter some of that vandalism. So,
Just wanted to thank Heather and her crew for the landscaping job at the Amtrak station. The new window should have went into the old station today. So not only do we now have it blacktop and draining correctly, we have a beautiful landscaped area. I talked to the conductor this morning who said this is by far his favorite stop. So, I love your landscaping mural.
great. And we just tackled another landscaping area. We're trying to beautify the green spaces and make them a little bit more easy to maintain. So the triangle by Hugh Graham's house, that college and front and Susan and what all, right around in there. Have to check it out. We are extending our pollinator pathway throughout town, so we did another native planting. And we'll do some signage there, educational signage, to tell the public what that is and why we plant those kind of things here.
So I got the Front Street parking lot too, that's, thank you.
Clean that up,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome.
How's Rennie doing?
Rennie's doing great. Rennie continues to grow at Potawatomi Park, our rock snake. It's lovely. It's just amazing to see. Again, it's a new way to interact in a park.
Just wait for some farmer to get all these rocks out of this field. Grab them off.
Truck out the pile.
So, any other questions for me about anything? Okay.
Trailhead signage, did you revisit that? Did you figure out what you want to do yet?
Addie and I have some plans.
Okay.
We're gonna see what we can come up with. We've been talking with Reen about signage, so we're gonna design, she's gonna be designing, I'll do the content, she'll design, and then he'll do the printing. So I think we're gonna go in a little bit different direction than you had envisioned. And we also wanna change out the maps that are currently there because they're a little bit hard for people to understand what we
I
wanna do.
noticed that on Sunday, we went for a walk, and Brienne and I, and we call her our love walk. Anyway. No, we call her our love walk, she hates it. But anyway, the signage there was like, I stopped to look at it, and I was like,
Yeah.
so it's confusing.
So we're kind of gonna go a different direction, so we have some things in the works. We can't wait till winter until we can kind of have some time to be
Time to
inside
have
and
this
put
stuff.
these things together. At the same time, we're writing our department procedures and those things
Right.
as well, so we've got a lot ahead of us that we're excited about. We just talked about that today. So we're gonna make some changes, we have things in the works, I promise. The emptiness bothers me too.
Yeah.
But we're working on it. I know, I keep telling you that, but we really are.
No, it's fine, it's just,
Okay.
we approved a long time ago to make those, so.
Yeah, okay, well,
The other question, are you still planning to move the horseshoe pits?
yes, but I'm waiting to see what happens in the back of Iroquois with the project that goes through there. Isn't that gonna be dug up at some point, Mayor? Isn't there something going through the back of Iroquois?
Go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna say, you're looking at your. Have at it.
We had, that was too cost prohibitive at this point to do that.
Okay,
So we backed that down. We'll bid it, if we have to bid it, in the next phase.
So for now, it's gonna be undisturbed.
Yeah, for now, we're gonna leave it alone. The bedrock in the river is so, it's not, there's no soil there, period. It's right there. So it's just making this cost so expensive. So we'll get the CSOs to go through there like they have designed earlier. Now, once the flow metering comes back, we'll see what happens after that. I miss anything? This is his expertise, is why I'm leaning that way.
so I haven't touched those yet, but I do have plans to move those.
Building's also gotta come down.
Pardon me?
Building's also gotta come down at some point.
Correct.
It's our wedding project.
We'll see. I hope fall.
Oh, my last one for you too, I'm sorry. The ADA stuff, we're trying to get done this week, get it in front of council to get it down to the NDOT before the 27th of August. That we need to find out what the grant amount was that they're giving us for the trail from Brookside Park to the fairgrounds. So once we get that completed, we'll find exactly what that amount is. And then commissioners have committed to picking up 50% of the costs associated with this, other than what the grant funding is. So we're going to collaborate again with them to try to get that trail going at least to the fairgrounds on our first section. Getting closer.
That completes my report.
Heather, the mural on the pool house, I love seeing that. That's just neat. On the north side, I wondered if I saw some wear and tear on it already. Not vandalism, just paint peeling up and that sort of thing. Is there anything we can do to make sure that that doesn't start peeling and chipping away? I think the cement's rough. I think that's the.
And that's what I was just gonna ask you guys, do you know if when that was done, if it was clear coated? That was before me, so I don't know.
That was gonna be my question. I don't
know if it was.
remember, but I just don't want anything to happen to it.
That would be an additional expense, so I would like that to stay.
You don't think it was?
I don't know that it was.
I can ask.
Is that a possibility?
It is, the cost that I've seen for our other, like the front side of the one that, the most recent side that we just did was, it was $1,000 to clear coat it. So I can find out if it was done and see where we are with that. And I can come back to you next month and let you know.
See if I'm crazy or not on that one.
Yeah.
I just think it looks cool. I don't want it to be.
Yeah, well, I know they kind of have a shelf life, the mural, sadly,
Especially if it's on to be carried across.
yes. I did have one more thing to tell you, I'm sorry. Can I add one more thing? So Potawatomi Park, Addie and I have been talking about it. Cameron has indicated that that one has reached its life expectancy. Okay, so we're there.
On the wall.
On the wall, the mural there, yes. So my idea, and Addie is willing to do this, and I'm gonna speak for Addie, but
Yeah.
what I would like to see, and what I think it needs to be added to our art walk would be some depictions of Native Americans, especially in Potawatomi Park. I feel like that's something that we kind of skipped over. Reen included a Native American in his mural at Iroquois, but I feel like, especially in Potawatomi, it would be nice to tell that story of who lived here. So Addie and I have been talking about how can we make that happen. I've enlisted a historian to look into how the Potawatomi and their life here and, you know, thinking about native animals, thinking about native plants and how they utilize those things. What did their camps look like? Those kinds of things. So what I would like to do moving forward, I'm not asking you to make a motion or anything. I don't think we need to do that at this preliminary stage, but I just want to put it out there. This is what we're discussing is how can we revamp that mural here in-house with this gifted artist, use our local historians to write that story about who the Potawatomi were. Again, do another one of the QR codes with the plaque and tell the story of the first people here. So I just feel like that's an important aspect that's missing. So I don't know how you feel about that, but that's kind of where my head is.
It'd be nice if, you know, if you could reach out to some sort of native group.
I have a local historian that I know quite well who is working on that as we speak. Yeah, he's going to reach out to the Pokagon band, kind of reach out and kind of get some ideas. He's already met with the Historical Society to see what they have. So as we step forward into that, I'll keep you abreast of how that's unfolding. Do you have any objections to me moving forward with that kind of project?
Yeah.
Okay, go on. Okay. Okay, now I'm done. Sorry.
Mr. Ritter, we always go around every month and we have ideas about this or questions about that, or what do you think about that? So it's just kind of your input. So we want to hear, you don't have to ask or say anything, but you're always welcome.
I think I'll refrain at this meeting, maybe at the next.
But welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
I already asked my question.
Stace usually takes up 20, 30 minutes during the session. We call it the Stace Pickering half hour.
This is a good night, yeah.
Glenn, how about you?
Yeah, welcome, Ryan. Just one question too. Again, I'm not in the pickleball.
You snob. Just
Thank
say
you,
it.
snob, thank you. So signage, I think, is very important because once those pickleball courts get used, they're going to have fistfights. When people say you need to get off because rules are that you play your game to 11 and then you get off and allow other people to play. So I didn't know if there'll be signage affixed to the fence right away, so that we.
Yes.
That's right, so-
That's the plan, I'm waiting for that I sent him exactly what he sent me, and I said, just modify this to,
Yeah.
for Rensselaer, but Rensselaer Parks and whatever, in place of the other park system, and so he is working on that as I understand it, and there will definitely be signage.
It'll be tempers, yeah.
Yes.
I've seen it.
There's a thing that they use at those, that you hang your racket up, and then you're next.
Right, we've talked about that, there's slots of 4.
Okay.
And then as you come off the court, you slot your paddle so that you would either mix up and play with a different
Right.
partner next time, or you can slot your paddles that you can stay with the same person. But it's just a way that you can organize the flow of traffic, because that's the biggest thing on the court, and I really think it's gonna be used a lot. So the more you can organize going in, I think we'll avoid a lot of controversy. And what they do is they'll hang a pickleball with a little, like a file, the hold on to papers.
Little clip.
If I think it. So you just move the clip down so that this next 4 plays, this next 4 plays.
Yeah.
Because I've played at places that you don't touch a person's paddle, and you just don't do that. There's other places.
Well, when it's time to roll this out, I will be following you.
Yeah, so just those 2 things, I think signage and then a place that
Yeah, I
you can
do,
organize
I
your
do
paddles.
think that's, because that will keep the flow going.
Yes.
Should only take a quarter, just place it up there, like caveman.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Quarter out, move it.
And take your quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'll need your help when we get to that point. But yeah, the signs are in order.
Right, do you have anything for us? Who knows me?
I don't. Who are you?
David Wall, I work at St. Joe,
Okay,
working on some other stuff.
okay.
If you've seen anything about Rivertown, I'm the guy behind the scenes.
Cool.
I have bucks, but I'll hold
Consider changing the name to Funky Town?
them. No, not cool enough.
There you go.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Just the one pet peeve I have is Foundation Park, there's a hole there, we were supposed to fill it in with cement, it drives me.
You know who's supposed to do that.
I
You
know.
call me anytime you like.
Bryce called him, he's also working on the top stones for the Bilson Park fountain and the foundation.
And the backstop behind Staden too, so.
Is it really?
Yes.
Okay. He said when he had extra concrete, he was making these, so it wasn't a whole lot of expense to everybody.
Right.
But I really want to get that thing filled in. So you may see the city forces out there just getting that done.
Go ahead, go right ahead. Because I talk to him every other week,
Really?
so.
So that was gonna be my question, is there any update on the cap?
He told me that he's doing it in sections. And I think he said it was 8 sections or so, and he had 5 of them done.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
He's doing them off-site.
Okay,
Yeah.
He's
okay.
making each, like a section of that concrete, and then he's gonna bring them all over and set them and glue them, all that stuff. And when I talked to him 2 weeks ago, there was like 5 of the 8 were done.
Right.
Okay.
We offered a forklift and a truck and.
He didn't wanna take the heavy equipment onto that concrete up to the fountain, so he wanted to make them in sections instead of pouring on it. The one in the stage, that he'll pour in place, because he can work from the alley to do that one.
I had the same problems that the light plant's having, I don't want to have there, so.
Right. And obviously, I want, for a little, because of Jasper, that's gonna be a pretty good show there with that singer, that American Idol, that to be done, and I don't want to get close to that date, but I'm just making sure that that's my kind of drop dead, like last.
All right,
But you talk to him, see him,
Bryce talks to him once a week, so.
just keep cattle prodding it, sorry.
All right. That's all I had, sorry.
Any questions or comments?
No.
You're always welcome. Sue, how about you?
I have one question about the gazebo again, sorry. If it's ordered, is it already ordered with benches or not?
I'll have to check though, I don't recall what I
Okay.
got exactly. I can let you know tomorrow, but
I just wondered if it was already, it'd be nice if it had benches in it.
I think that's how
You
most of
wouldn't
them
have to
come.
put the seating in there.
Yeah, I think so, but I can verify and I can find out how many it seats if you wanna know that too.
Okay, well, no, I just wanted to know the
Okay.
dimensions of that. It's fine,
Okay, I'll reach out to you.
okay. That's all.
I was gonna mention, so Kentland Bank does a jeans for, they call it jeans for charity, I call it jeans for nonprofit. But basically, every Friday, each quarter, every Friday, employees can wear jeans and you donate so much to the pot. And at the end of the quarter, take that pool of money and then the bank matches whatever that pool is. And then each branch location gets to choose when it's their quarter where that money goes. And so we did Rensselaer Parks this quarter, and so I have a check. I don't have it tonight, but it was too big to bring in. A check for $1,578.
Wow.
How about that?
Oh,
Wow,
that's awesome.
I do want to organize the big check presentation at some point, so I'll get with you on that.
Do you have a specific project you'd like to see that go towards?
Not necessarily.
Filling in the whole Foundation Park.
Basketball.
Basketball.
Pickleball.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
On that, by the way, Mayor, I can probably get you some money for Parks and People to pay for the materials if you do find an in-house way to get it done.
Well, our guys are a little bit busy.
I'm just saying, it's Parks for People, so that money's been approved by them, so just let you know that it's available.
Fair enough.
So now, to answer your question, you can use it however you'd like.
As long as it's discount.
As long as it's
As long- That's all I get.
Okay, that sounds great.
That's all I have.
And thank you for your work on that, that's cool.
Yeah.
Mr. Rayburn, how are you?
Yeah, I think Glenn has got to talk about pickleball, I think every meeting for the last, as long as I've been on. I look forward to the shift towards disc golf.
Yeah, what's next? When they get that done, I don't know what to talk about.
The fist
Yeah,
fight.
switch to So no, other than ribbon, I have nothing productive to say.
Well, the early returns, people like the water slide. My carcass has not been down it yet, but I will. The kids still want a diving board. They're greedy, I guess, but just to keep in mind, that's what I'm hearing. But I think we're our toughest critics. There are always people that want to dig into us. Certainly you must hear it all, but our parks look good, but they work well too. So a lot of us put in a lot of time. I thank everybody for what they do. Everybody's got a special pinch of salt to throw into the pot, and it makes a difference. So thank you, everybody, and thank you for all you're doing. It's no fun. I see the notes I've been taking on stuff, but, do this, check into that, whatever, but there's a lot of stuff happening. Addie, you too, I know you're part of stuff. That's a big deal. So we just want to be part of stuff. I don't think we're a board that says, nope, can't do that, we don't want to. We're not like some government offices that like to collect money and pet it. I think we like to put it out and do things. So if we get cranky about, hey, we didn't know about this or that, we just want to be part of stuff, that's all. Next meeting, where does Labor Day fall?
The first.
That was early,
So, I'm sorry, the 7th. Okay. So Monday, the 7th, does that sound good with everybody?
I'm sorry, it's the 8th.
The 8th. How about the 8th? That might work better. We're supposed to have a motion to adjourn. I think it's, everybody can't wait to leave, so I've never understood why we have to have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I think Mr. Rayburn. So, but thank you, everybody. It's looking good.
You're learning